Chapter 631 to 633. Quietly standing by the window of the principal's office, Kuroto looked at the playground below with a thoughtful expression. At this moment, Naruto and Sasuke's class is on the playground. At the center of the crowd, two kids are present. One is Sasuke, who is standing with his arms folded over his chest and a proud smile on his face, while opposite to him is Naruto, who is sitting on the ground, rubbing his butt in embarrassment, and muttering something in confusion that perhaps only he can understand. For the ones who haven't figured out what exactly is going on, the answer is actually quite simple. Naruto again challenged Sasuke, and the result is also obvious. He was easily defeated by Sasuke. This kid Naruto, he really is something. Despite losing again and again and embarrassing himself in front of everyone each time, he hasn't given up, muttered Kuroto with a smile. He really admired Naruto for his spirit of not giving up. Earlier, Iruka had reported to him that the students are frequently challenging Sasuke in the middle of the class, and this is disturbing the teaching environment as well as the decorum of the class. Kuroto did not blame or scold Iruka for his ineffective supervision. On the contrary, he instructed Iruka to not restrain the kids too much in this regard. After all, Ninja Academy is meant to train ninjas, so allowing the students to have a certain competitive relationship against each other is not a bad thing. Not only will this prompt them to improve themselves, but it will also allow the teaching staff to find the weak points of the trainees so that the students can further work on those points. Kuroto believes this will increase the overall quality of the graduates, which is very important considering that the current shinobi is not as stable as it was in the canon at this time. In the canon, at this time, there was no trace of a Matsukami, no movement from the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. The Akatsuki organization was in a dormant state and was busy performing missions and recruiting members. Additionally, the Third Great Shinobi War, as well as the later feud with Kamogakure, had just ended. There was no tension on any border of the Land of Fire, so no major conflict was going to occur in the near future. As such, it won't be wrong to say that the shinobi world was quite stable with no large-scale conflicts. Therefore, the atmosphere of Konoha was quite relaxed. The Ninja Academy was naturally affected by this relaxed atmosphere, and it was affected to such an extent that the number of enrolled trainees was decreasing each year, and the teaching progress was also extremely slow. However, this is not the case in this world that has completely deviated from its original course, because the butterfly effect occurred because of Hyuga Kuroto's presence. Konoha village had just experienced a major catastrophe and survived only with the help of a foreign party. Moreover, the culprit is still hiding somewhere in the shinobi world, and considering their intentions and objective, the threat of war is on Konoha, so a sense of crisis has enveloped Konoha as well as the entire shinobi world. The environment of Ninja Academy will naturally be affected by this. That's why all the children must understand the cruelty of the shinobi world as soon as possible. This is necessary for them to be prepared for the battlefield, lest there will remain greenhorn and freeze in front of a stronger enemy, which will definitely lead to their death. Kuroto doesn't want the students of Ninja Academy to face such a situation, because this way most of them will die useless death and lose their lives for nothing. Therefore, such measures are necessary, and this is just the first part of his plan. He has obviously planned how to train these kids into proper shinobi. Unquestionably, he will do everything very carefully, and after taking proper measures, feeling excited over how much fun he is going to have, Kuroto's eyes landed on Sasuke. The scene where Sasuke knocked down Naruto just now was within Kuroto's gaze. Whether Sasuke's speed, agility, physical strength, or overall body coordination and timing, everything was perfect, such that he didn't have to put any effort, and he knocked down Naruto. Sasuke has really become impeccable at this age. It's amazing. Even if I was in Naruto's place or someone else was in Naruto's place from my peers except Kakashi, they would suffer the same fate. Such a level of skill is rare to have at this age. Kuroto didn't have it, nor did most of his peers. Even Asuma didn't have it. The only one who had it was Kakashi, but Kakashi was already a chunin at that point. Of course, Orochimaru, Namikaze Minato, Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Itachi also had such skills at this age. But let's not talk about them for now. Among his peers, Sasuke is without a doubt the most dazzling, and his progress is really exceptional. While Kuroto was thinking about all this, the match on the playground progressed as Naruto again got up and faced Sasuke. Immediately as Naruto got up, the cheering and cooing voices of most of the girls present on the playground resounded throughout the school. Come on, Sasuke-kun, kick Naruto's ass. Yes, defeat him, defeat him. It's a pity that the one they were cheering for wasn't Naruto but Sasuke. The fact that Sasuke was attracting the attention of so many girls incited the anger and hatred of many boys. They were jealous, and they wanted Sasuke to lose and embarrass himself in front of everyone. So they cheered for Naruto in an attempt to vent out their dissatisfaction. Oh, Hinata was also cheering for Naruto, it's just that she wasn't open about it and silently prayed for Naruto to win. So, nobody except for Shan, Kiyomi and Yakumo realized it. Of course, not everyone was part of this fiasco. There were some kids who were standing quietly. These included Neji, Shikamaru, Sai and Shin, then Kiyomi, Shin and Yakumo. Observing all the kids for a while, Kuroto had a rough assessment of each of their strengths. At this moment Kuroto's gaze shifted, and he noticed that Elder Kaharu along with 3 children had entered the campus, and was making her way towards the building. As he noticed them, Kuroto couldn't help but narrow his eyes and noted that one of them was a young girl wearing a white-colored kunoichi gear. She had short, layered mint green hair, orange eyes, and a slightly darker skin tone. Realizing who she is, he couldn't help but mutter, "Isn't she?" He didn't have to wait too long as Elder Kaharu soon led the 3 children toward Kuroto's office. After arriving at the gate of his office, she made the 3 kids wait at the gate of Kuroto's office and came inside alone. Kuroto respectfully greeted Elder Kaharu. She nodded, then passed a scroll to Kuroto and spoke. "From today, these children will also be attending the Ninja Academy. The 3 of them are exchange students from the allied nation Takigakure, so you must take good care of the 3 of them. Additionally, among the 3 kids, the girl has a special identity. This matter is extremely confidential. Only you can know it, and you must not disclose this to anyone else." Kuroto nodded lightly. "I understand, Kaharasuma. In fact, even before Elder Kaharu entered his office, Kuroto had already guessed it. And now that she revealed it with such a solemn expression, Kuroto didn't even need any more information to determine the identity of that girl. Undoubtedly, she is FU from Takigakure and her other identity is the current Jinchuriki of Nanabi. It's just that Kuroto is slightly surprised that the Jinchuriki of Takigakure has come to Konoha's Ninja Academy as an exchange student. But if you think about the current situation in the shinobi world, this matter is not that hard to understand. Seeing Kuroto's calm reaction, which was much better than she had initially expected, Elder Kaharu nodded in appreciation and then told him the entire story of how and why Fu has come to Konoha. The fact that the Akatsuki organization is after the 9 bijou is not a secret in the shinobi world, other than the 5 great shinobi villages. Only Takiguga has a bijou, however. They don't have enough strength to protect their Elder Hirazan was worried that in this way Nenabi will fall into the hands of the Akatsuki organization, which would be very disadvantageous for the 5 great shinobi villages and the shinobi world. To make sure that such a situation doesn't happen, and Jinchuriki of Nanabi doesn't fall in the clutches of the Akatsuki organization, the former Hokage sent Elder Kaharu to Takigakure. The objective was very clear and simple, and he requested the leader of Takigakure to hand over the responsibility of protecting Nanabi and its Jinchuriki to Konoha village. Regarding Elder Kaharu's request, the leader of Takigakure was initially hesitating, but considering the great threat that the Akatsuki organization posed to the shinobi world, and how the entire Takigakure might also suffer the fate of annihilation if he didn't do something, he agreed and sent 3 children from Takigakure as an exchange student. Fu is obviously among them. Obviously, only Fu's identity is important. The other 2 are just orphans who are sent with her to cover up her identity. After pondering for a while, Kuroto asked, "Is the state of Nenabi's Jinchuriki stable?" Unstable Jinchuriki is no different from a ticking bomb. Gaara also used to be like that, and he lost control several times and caused heavy losses to Su. If Fu's state is unstable and she loses control, then Elder Kaharu was also aware of this problem, and she reassured Kuroto, "Don't worry, child Fu is very talented. She has never once lost control over Nanabi, so it shouldn't be a problem as long as we are careful. Moreover, Uchiha Shisui is also in school. If due to any unforeseen reason she does lose control, then instructs Shisui to control the Nanabi with his Mangekyu Sharingan to restrain him, and then Nanabi can be immediately sealed back inside Fu." Kuroto said, "All right, I'll see that no issue occurs." Elder Kaharu nodded, then left the school. Somewhere in the land of fire, Akiri Gakure pointed at the distant sky and said, "Captain, is that guy on that clay bird our target?" The captain of the quad next to him nodded and said, "Height, age, hair color, hairstyle, skin tone, as well as character matches the description written in the scroll Mizukuchi-sama handed us. That guy is definitely Deidara of Iwagakure. Finally, we are able to find him," the Anbu said with a somewhat excited tone. The captain nodded lightly, then asked the other subordinate, "Where is he going?" The other subordinate looked at the map and then said, "In the direction he is flying. His destination is most likely the fire temple." The first Anbu immediately said, "Captain, what should we do now? Should we follow him?" Or the captain thought for a while and said, "Let's follow him from a long distance to make sure that he doesn't sense us and we don't lose track of him. Also, send the message to Mizukuchi that we have found the target, and he is headed towards the Temple of Fire in the Land of Fire." The second Anbu nodded and immediately passed the message to the Mizukuchi. After that, the 3 of them followed Deidara from a distance late at night. Konoha. Kuroto, who has just finished the dinner served by Yui, received the scroll from the summoned crow. He unfolded the scroll and grinned. Kuroto shook his head. "Nothing major." "Oh." She nodded in understanding. Kuroto didn't tell her, which obviously meant that she didn't need to know this matter. As such, she didn't pry any further. Kuroto thought about it a little, then said, "Yui, I'll not be present at home tonight. So, today, you should sleep at your parents' place." Yui nodded. "In that case, I'll go after I finish the dishes." With that, Kuroto gave Yui a goodnight kiss. then created a shadow clone whose role is to drop Yui at her parents' house, and also to act as Kuroto's cover in his absence. After making sure that everything was checked, he secretly left Konoha. Holding a lantern in his hand, a monk in training questioned, "Did you hear the sound just now?" His companion, who was also a monk in training, carefully looked at nearby surroundings, but finding nothing, he said, "Perhaps it was just a small animal." "Is that so?" The first monk muttered doubtfully. "Yes, there are a lot of them in the surroundings. Squirrels and cats can always be seen here," answered the companion monk with a nod, then said, "Anyway, it's getting late and it's time to change shifts. Let's go back and rest. I am sleepy." "All right, let's go back." The first monk nodded, and then the two monks left the area. They walked for a while and arrived at the Buddha statue seated at the main hall of the temple, respectfully bowed towards it, then gently left the main hall and proceeded towards the monks' sleeping quarters to retire for the day. When the two monks in training left the main hall of the temple, when the light of the lantern started to dim, and when the sway of the candlelight lit in the hall had returned to normal, at that time, a shadow that was hiding between the wooden beams of the roof jumped down and gently landed on the ground. Looking at all the structures in the hall, he couldn't help but admire them. Aha! So this is where the art of this temple was hidden. Undoubtedly, he who has sneaked inside the Temple of Fire and is currently admiring the art of this ancient temple is Deidara. He has been wandering all over the shinobi world for a few years now, and if it is said whether he has a purpose or not, then without a doubt it is the pursuit of art all over the shinobi world. Not long ago, Deidara heard somewhere that the sculptures of the ancient Temple of Fire are masterpieces of art, so here he is. Stroking all the bronze sculptures, Deidara was amazed. While admiring these pieces of art, he suddenly thought of something, then quickly put his hand inside the shinobi bags tied around his waist, and took out white clay. It was undoubtedly his detonation clay. Carefully matching all the details, Deidara shaped the detonation clay in his hands in the same structure and appearance as the sculptures in the hall. After he was done with this, he held the sculptures made of detonation clay in his hand. Then again looked at the sculptures before him and said with a smile, "Any art that cannot explode is imperfect. It can never be called true art. Let me sublime you all with my masterpieces." And the very next moment he threw the sculptures made of detonation clay on the bronze sculptures in the hall. Although the white sculptures looked very good and they drew beautiful arcs in the air, under the dim light of the candle, they projected shadows on the wall that looked like flurrying demons. And as these flurrying demons approached the bronze sculptures, Deidara's smile widened. Then, without hesitation, he weaved the hand sign and shouted, "Kotsu!" Boom, 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 boom. Immediately as he shouted, several explosive roars sounded through the peaceful and quiet night sky, and the violent explosions shook the entire main hall, in the midst of the blazing flares that were soaring through the sky. The entire Temple of Fire fell in chaos. What happened? Did an enemy temple attack us? There's a fire in the main hall. Then why are you shouting around? Hurry up and extinguish the fire. All of a sudden, rapid screams resounded through the temple, and one after all the sleeping, resting, and meditating monks were disturbed. As a result, the entire Temple of Fire suddenly fell into commotion. All the monks rushed out of their houses and sleeping quarters like panicked animals in a drove. Some picked up batons to patrol the surroundings to watch out against the enemy, while others picked up wooden barrels and buckets and tried to put out the fire. In the crowd that was coming and going, Kirikou, the current head monk of the Temple of Fire, looked at everything with a frowned expression and scanned the surroundings of the area affected by the explosion with sharp eyes. He was quite sure that such an explosion couldn't have occurred naturally, so there must have been someone here who caused these explosions. Because it hasn't been very long since the explosion took place, there was a possibility that the suspect has yet to leave the Temple of Fire. And if that's the case, then his search was indeed fruitful, and soon enough he was able to find a few footprints in an inconspicuous place of the temple. As expected, someone did manage to sneak inside the temple, and this explosion was created by that person. But there was a problem. Is it a shinobi? Kirikou could be sure that these footprints aren't of the monks in the temple because the monks either remain barefooted, or they wear wooden sleepers. But these footprints were the result of shinobi sandals, which is something only ninjas wear. Kirikou has served as one of the 12 guardian ninjas for a few years. Therefore, he was sure of his guess, but he wasn't sure of why would a shinobi destroy the main hall of Temple of Fire. This just doesn't make sense with how shinobi work in general, unless this is just a diversion, he muttered in realization, and quickly followed after those footprints. His figure flashed and disappeared from the Temple of Fire, whoosh, in the forest outside the Temple of Fire. Looking back at the soaring flames, Deidara, who had already left the temple, smiled narcissistically and was still immersed in joy. Whoosh! But his joyful moments were soon interrupted as Kirikou appeared before him with a quick body flicker. Kirikou observed Deidara for a few moments, then asked, "Who are you, and what was your purpose of sneaking inside the Temple of Fire?" "Purpose? I am just admiring art, huh?" Deidara answered with a shrug. "Admiring art?" Kirikou was taken aback, then questioned angrily, "If that's the case, then why did you cause an explosion in the main hall? Was it because of art too?" Deidara nodded in an isn't it obvious manner and said, of course, it was for art. Because true art is an explosion. Kirikou looked at Deidara's face, had no trace of guilt or tension, with a shocked expression. From the manner the other party was speaking, it's obvious that he is extremely serious, but with the way Deidara is behaving, Kirikou felt uneasy in his heart, and declared, you are a dangerous person. You may not be lying, but you are psychologically disturbed, and your tendency to create explosions in the name of art is extremely dangerous for innocent people. I cannot allow a dangerous person like you to walk away. Either you will become a monk in training at the temple and repent for all your sins, or your body will be buried in the cemetery of the Temple of Fire. Deidara shook his head and denied, I don't want to stay here. I have already seen all the art that this temple has to offer, and it is nothing compared to my art. In that case, you leave me no choice. As the head monk of the Temple of Fire, I cannot allow you to leave without paying for your sins. As Kirikou declared this, he put his hands together and exuded extremely powerful chakra. But Deidara wasn't perturbed. He calmly put his arm in his shinobi bag and said with an excited smile, I see. You want to fight, huh? I am all game. Welcoming approach. Thousand-armed murder. As the jutsu started to take form, Kirikou said, I don't have complete control over the power output of this jutsu, so there are chances that you might not be able to survive. If such a thing happened, I reassure you that I will bury you in the forest of the back mountain of the Temple of Fire, and pray that your soul ascends to the pure land after death. Accompanied by Kirikou's words, a terrifying chakra exploded out of him and took the form of the spirit of the thousand-handed cannon. The spirit was golden in color, and it looked calm, angelic, and peaceful, feeling the tranquil and peaceful chakra that he has never felt or experienced before. Deidara, who was about to start his offensive, suddenly came to a halt and muttered with a surprised expression, what kind of ninjutsu is this? It is so beautiful. Kirikou saw that Deidara has stopped his movements because of being impressed by his jutsu. This presented him with a very good opportunity. However, instead of taking advantage of this opportunity, he stood in his position and calmly explained, this is the ultimate technique of the Fire Temple that is only taught to the ninja monks, and it requires a special chakra called the Gift of the Hermit Group. Of course, you too can learn it if you were to surrender now and become a monk in training at the Fire Temple. How about it? Are you interested? Kirikou didn't want to kill Deidara if possible. He would much rather recruit Deidara into the fire. This way, not only the problem before him will be solved, but the Fire Temple will also gain a talented monk keen training to achieve his purpose. Kirikou introduced the Gift of the Hermit Group to Deidara, hoping that this unknown and mysterious knowledge draws Deidara's interest. Of course, Kirikou didn't deceive Deidara. The Gift of the Hermit Group is a unique chakra that the monk of the Fire Temple can learn. There is a secret method of training that allows people to learn this method, and only the monks of the Fire Temple know this method. The Gift of the Hermit Group is a unique technique of the Fire Temple. In actuality, its essence is just senjutsu, to a certain extent, at least. Perhaps, it would be more correct to say that the Gift of the Hermit Group is a relatively superficial approach to using the natural energy dispersed in the heavens and the earth that the monks of the Fire Temple have been able to learn through years of rigorous training. Although the Gift of the Hermit Group is less efficient and far backward and weak compared to the senjutsu applications of the three mysterious realms, it is still better than nothing. And this is one of the reasons why the Fire Temple has been able to survive for the past millennia and has always been valued by the daimyo of the Land of Fire. Be that as it may, it didn't interest Deidara enough that he would go as far as to surrender here and become a monk of the Fire Temple. So, to answer Kirikou's question, he shook his head and said, although the real art of the Fire Temple is really good, it is still missing something, huh? What are you saying? Kirikou's frown tightened. He felt that whatever he said up to now didn't go through Deidara. It is as if the two are on a completely different channel and cannot communicate it. Deidara didn't answer immediately. Instead, he put back his hands inside his two shinobi bags and took out a lot of explosive clay, and then answered, you have already shown me your ultimate art. How can I be left behind? Let me show you too, and teach you the real meaning of art. As for joining your Fire Temple, no thanks. I am not interested. The only aim of my life is the eternal pursuit of art. Seeing that the kid before him directly denied his offer, Kirikou understood that words won't work anymore, and only fists can talk now. But one thing Kirikou wanted to confirm before starting the battle. Let me ask you one more question. Are you Deidara the Ronin of Iwagakure? Deidara asked in surprise. Have you heard of me? Kirikou didn't answer. Only his expression became more serious, understanding that the monk had no intention of answering his question. Deidara shrugged, and without caring about it anymore, he threw the figurine in his hands that is made of the special explosive clay. The clay figurine of white color landed on the ground. Then it instantly swelled up weirdly and turned into a big insect, then leaped towards Kirikou. Seeing that Deidara had started, Kirikou also no longer hesitated or waited, and started the offensive from his side. Welcoming approach, thousand-armed murder. Instantly, the golden cannon spirit around Kirikou changed its color from golden to red, which symbolized anger. indicating that Kirikou was extremely angry, and the result of this anger is that countless fists flew towards Deidara. The fists detonated all the insect figurines as Kirikou stated. These puppets are useless in front of my ultimate jutsu. Give up, you have no escape here. Deidara chuckled, don't be so sure. As soon as Deidara's words fell, the ground beneath Kiriku's feet cracked, out of which a centipede made up of white explosive clay crawled out, and instantly entangled around Kiriku's body. Damn it, when did you? Kirikou exclaimed in shock and surprise. He didn't see Deidara creating any figurines other than the insects he destroyed a few moments ago. Moreover, with the speed with which the centipede entangled his body, Kirikou didn't even have enough time to react fast enough to dodge or distance himself from the centipede. As a result, he was instantly trapped and his jutsu was released without being able to cause any damage to Deidara. Seeing that his plan worked, Deidara had a triumphant smile on his face as he said, "You were saying something?" Kirikou gritted his teeth. Deidara chuckled and started to weave hand signs for finishing up the monk by means of his true art, that is explosion. But just as he brought his hands together to explode the centipede that entangled Kiriku's body, his body became numb, and a scary scarlet eye covered his vision. What the hell? What is this?